Cassidy Roth claims a novice eyelash technician damaged her eye, so she wants a refund for her eyelash extensions. Ava Stevens says she is a licensed professional who provided exceptional service to the plaintiff.
Good day, ladies. I see I've got Cassidy Roth as my plaintiff and Ava Stevens as my defendant. Ms. Roth, I see you are suing Ms. Stevens for $450. Why are we in court today, ma'am?
I had went to my coworker. She told me about the Lash special that she was having.
You said the Lash special?
Yes.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
So I reached out to her. We established our availability, but then she was stated that she is a new lash tech. Then during the appointment, she had revealed that she has 5 customers. I make the 5th customer.
You mean in life?
Yes.
Like her whole career?
Yes.
Okay, you're lucky number 5. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So basically, it did make me a little nervous.
Okay, so you saw not her work, but you saw her price.
Yes.
Okay, continue. Just want to make sure we're clear on the facts. Okay.
Yes. So, but then during the appointment, I noticed that she was jabbing my eye. It felt like she was stabbing my eye. So,
and we're talking, when you say eye, ma'am, I just want to make sure that we're all speaking the same language here. So you're talking about lash extensions where individual lashes are put on each of your individual?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Okay, continue.
So that's when, of course, I looked up. This is not what I wanted. I asked for a natural lash. She gave me a large dramatic lash. That's not what I had asked for. I had brought it up to her. She was very dismissal. She had a bad attitude. And, you know, of course, I left. I paid her.
Did you pay? Okay.
Yes, I did.
And how much did you pay her, ma'am?
I paid her $250.
Okay.
So the next day, I woke up, my eye was burning and it was red. So that's when I went to urgent care.
Wow. Okay.
The doctor was explaining it could be a chemical burn from the fumes of the eyelash glue. So of course I reached out to her and I was like, hey, my eye is burned. She did not want to give me my refund for it.
You texted her when you reached out?
I did, yes.
Okay. And do you have any evidence, ma'am? Do you have text messages or just proffer everything up to my bailiff here?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
So we can see a bit about exactly what you're telling the court. Thank you, sir. Okay, so let's start with trying to get a sense as to the injury alleged here. Let the court see this photograph of the young lady's eye, which does look very irritated. So this looks painful. Was it painful?
Very painful.
Was it burning or what was the sensation like, ma'am?
It was a burning, like stabbing sensation. Like it was just so painful.
And how long did it take for this to go away, ma'am?
About 2 to 3 days.
2 or 3 days. Okay. And did you have to take any medication for that?
Yes, they did give me some antibiotics.
Okay, so these are the lashes that you say that you did not ask for because these are too long and dramatic? Is that the...
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
They were not at what I had asked for.
It's pretty, though.
Your Honor, that's what she asked for.
Okay. Well, we're going to get to the bottom of it in just a second. Okay, so let's look at these receipts, literally here. I do see Eyelash Queen. That would be you, ma'am?
I do own Eyelash Queens.
That's you. I see $200 due, and you're saying you paid this in full?
Yes.
You received payment, ma'am?
Yes, I charge
Okay,
her card.
great. So this is the intake form. I acknowledge that there is a potential risk of allergic reaction to the adhesive. I acknowledge that the adhesive may cause irritation or discomfort. I understand that this requires a certain level of care, and I acknowledge that the results may vary. Okay, and you're looking today for me to, by virtue of judgment against this young lady, reimburse you for your expenses?
That is
so
correct.
You want the medical bills and you want the money you paid for the lash extensions?
Yes, Your Honor.
Let me get to the defendant here, Ms. Stevens. You are a new lash technician, is that correct?
I am a new lash technician.
Okay.
However, I will note that I am a licensed lash artist. You know, as you can see through my client questionnaire and consultation form, everything was in this packet and signed and consented by her. So she specifically asked for a hybrid look. And in the industry,
no, let me read it for myself and read it to the court. Okay, so it does say desired lash style, natural, dramatic. Those are examples you're giving the customer. She says, I prefer a natural look, something that is appropriate for work, but will also work for a night out with friends or a date.
Yes.
So hence hybrid.
Exactly.
But it does say length preference, and it does say short, medium.
Yes, which is what I gave her. I didn't give her any...
Pause. Let's put back up on the screen for the courtroom to see the finished product of the lashes, please. So this does not look short nor medium to me. This looks pretty lengthy here.
Coming up on Equal Justice.
Would you consider this one of the longer, or would this be one of the more short sets?
This looks pretty long.
When I'm a lash aficionado myself. This is a heavyweight lash, ma'am. This is not for an amateur.
And later,
At what point during the courtship do things go wrong, dear?
I got a call from my best friend, and she says she sees him at the bar with another woman.
Equal Justice is back with the case of Cassidy Roth, who blames Ava Stevens for bad eyelash extensions.
Elijah, I know you've seen some young ladies in your day with some lashes.
Well, needless.
Ma'am, is your name Elijah?
Okay.
It's not. Elijah, I know you've seen some young ladies in your day with these lash services. Would you consider this one of the longer sets, or would this be one of the more short sets?
This looks pretty long. I still don't know how y'all can wear them on there.
I know. Yeah,
Pretty
this
long.
is, and I'm a lash aficionado myself, so I'm very, very familiar with it. And I would consider this is a heavyweight lash, ma'am. This is not for an amateur.
Well, if you take a close-up look at the photo, especially with her eye open, in order to achieve a hybrid look, it has to be a mix of long and short lashes.
Let's see the infected eye one more time, the aggravated eye. Okay, so I do see a mix here of short and long. So you're saying that was required to achieve the hybrid look she
Yes.
asked for? Okay, now I got to be honest with you, Ms. Stevens. I am so distracted when I look at this photo with the eye irritant. It really is hard to decipher, but okay. Now, have any of your previous 4 clients, ma'am, had a reaction similar to this?
No, they have not. And then you can look at my reviews. All of my reviews have been
Go ahead
positive.
and offer that up to my bailiff, ma'am, all of your evidence. Thank you.
All of my reviews have been positive. And
sir.
during the appointment with
Well, no. Let's check and verify what you just represented to the court. You say it one more time. The last thing that you
my
said?
reviews have been positive.
You said all.
Yes, all my reviews have been positive.
Okay, now that's interesting to me because I am looking at Eyelash Queen review. You're Eyelash Queen, correct?
Yes, I am.
Okay, now the very first review I see is titled Disappointing Experience. I recently had my lashes done by Ava Stevens at Eyelash Queens, and I must say it was a disappointing service. Application was sloppy, and I felt like excessive glue was used. The lashes did not look natural, and I had an irritation afterward. I expected better consideration, but unfortunately I won't be returning. That's the very first review I see, ma'am. But that's not all. Is this your review, ma'am?
That is her review.
Oh, please.
Okay,
Come on now.
so now somebody gonna want to start lying in my courtroom?
I'm not lying. You could continue reading the reviews.
Now I do see, to your point, 2 additional very glowing reviews. I see fast, flawless, and affordable. So this must be during the special. Ava Stevens, Eyelash Queen, a true eyelash wizard. Attention to detail. The pricing is reasonable. I walked out feeling like a queen without breaking the bank. Highly recommended.
And there's a reason why I'm called Eyelash Queen.
But Your Honor, I'm just saying, like, it's not what I asked
We got to
for.
stop right there, Miss Ross, because if you want to go from day to night, who among us is wearing the exact same aesthetic to work during our daytime
Thank
hours
you.
that we're wearing out in the streets when we're trying to entertain gentlemen callers?
I'm just saying, like, but she didn't follow what I was.
Well, I actually will be the judge of that. So I believe that you executed a desire, and I believe that this woman, at this point, is saying that she did her best to interpret that look. So let's get to these text messages, because for whatever reason, you were not happy, and I do see that there was definitely some damage done to your eye. Now, whether or not she was at fault for that remains to be determined. You communicated with her after, you said the next day is when your eye
Yes.
started being irritated?
That's correct.
My OMG, my eye is burning. I cannot believe this happened. This is all your fault. First, you do not apply the eyelashes I want, and now you have burned my eye. You must refund me. You respond, Cassidy, I'm sorry your eye is burned. Why did you not mention it yesterday? I charged your card because you left with new eyelashes. Well, that makes a little sense. The burn did not appear until today. Now that you know, you should be offering to pay my urgent care bill as well. And you say, if you would like to call me, we can discuss it for a resolution. Was a call ever made to you, ma'am?
Nope, she did not call me. So I did try to resolve the solution, as you can see. I expressed.
What would your resolution have looked like? I'm curious.
I would have offered an additional service when her lashes did start to fall apart, right? To make up for maybe a disappointing experience for her.
Let me ask both of you 2 separate questions that are very important here. Ms. Roth, have you ever gotten eyelash extensions before?
I have, like, once or twice.
Once or twice. And you mean to tell me neither once nor twice you ever had any discomfort whatsoever?
No, Your Honor.
Let me hear more from you, ma'am. I want to ask you this question. Of the 5 clients, including this woman you've done, You mean to tell me nobody else complained about one thing?
The reactional feedback has been, I wish my lashes had been a little bit more curly. Maybe we should have used a different selection of lashes or a different length of lashes.
But nobody
right?
complained about the installation.
No, there has never been
feeling.
any irritation because I take a proper intake form and I make sure I understand my clients' bodies and medical concerns or allergies.
This is what I'm going to do. Ladies, I'm ready to rule in this matter. I believe that both of you are misconstruing something that happened on this particular day. I'm gonna just tell you the truth. Somebody's in here lying, I can't tell who. Therefore, I can't make sense out of either one of your tall tales, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to rule in favor of you as the plaintiff, but only for $200. I'm going to reimburse you the cost of the services because you confessed to me, Ms. Stevens, that you were gonna be willing to give her an additional service anyway. So I will rule in favor of the plaintiff for $200. Y'all need to get y'all's lies straight.
Judge Eboni has ruled in favor of the plaintiff. The defendant is ordered to pay $200.
Well, I mean, she got what she deserved.
She's broken, sorry, and I'm not surprised.
Okay. You've had your day in court. Please follow me.
Coming up on Equal Justice.
Me and my ex, Mateen, we created a painting together, and I purchased the frame for that painting while he purchased the class we made the painting in. It was a paint and sip.
Was that like a date night that you two were?
Yeah, it was a date night.
Closed captioning provided by This is Equal Justice. Clover Davidson claims she bought an expensive frame for the painting she made with her boyfriend, only to find out he cheated on her. Mateen Hampton says he paid for the painting class, so he's keeping the art.
Let's see what we have here. Clover Davidson as my plaintiff, hello, and Mateen Hampton as my defendant. Miss Davidson, I see you are suing the defendant for $448.70. I see that he is your ex-boyfriend. What brings us to court today?
So, me and my ex, Mateen, we created a painting together, and I purchased the frame for that painting while he purchased the class we made the painting in. It was a paint and sip.
Sure. Okay. Was that like a date night that you two were
it was
doing?
a date night, and it was a surprise for
Okay.
me. We had been dating for a couple months.
Okay,
at
so
that point.
fairly new relationship.
Yeah.
Okay, and I assume this goes well?
Yeah, sure.
Great.
We had a great time.
Actually. Okay, great. Okay, so it goes great. And so at what point during the courtship do things go wrong, dear?
I find out a couple days, no, a week and a half or so after we do the paint and sip and I buy the frame that he had been cheating on me. I got a call from my best friend, Alexa. She calls me and she says she sees him at the bar with another woman.
Well, let's talk about this, because I always talk about this in my group chats with my girlfriends, and we play that game of do you say something? Because, you know, there are friends that don't want to know. Short of caught in the bed doing the adult tango, to the right girlfriend been explained away.
Coming up on Equal Justice.
So you did paint this together.
Yes, Your Honor.
I did most of it.
But the frame is quite lovely, and it does have some weight to it. You purchased this.
Yeah, it was around $400 for that frame.
This is Equal Justice. Equal Justice is back with a dispute between Clover Davidson and her ex-boyfriend Mateen Hampton over a framed painting.
So your friend Alexa sees this hand waste situation, and she tells you, and you become irate.
Absolutely.
Okay, you confront the gentleman?
I call him and I tell him straight up, what's going on? Why did Alexa tell me this? Explain it to me. And of course he can't. He's being wishy-washy, he's being defensive, and I'm out, I'm done, and you're gonna give me my painting back and my frame back.
Okay, so you broke up with him that night that you got the
Yeah.
information of the cheating.
Oh yeah.
And tell me how it went from date night, paint and sip, he paid for the paint classes, but you bought this frame. Mr. Hampton, how do you end up with sole possession of the painting?
Yeah, so after the paint and sip, a great evening we both had, we actually came back to my apartment. Clover typically spends like 2 to 4 nights a week at my apartment. We both saw fit.
Well, she did at that time.
At the time, yes.
Okay.
And we both saw fit since she was over at my place more.
Oh, okay.
To be honest, I kind of needed a lot more decoration. My apartment's pretty bare.
Got
We
it.
both decided that we stuck at my apartment and hung up above the bed. So every night before I go to sleep, I can see the painting, and since then it's been in my possession, and that was a decision we both came to together.
Well, let me see this infamous painting. Elijah, please do the honors and bring that piece of art that hung above the bed. the den of love. Let's see this. Thank you, sir. Okay. Okay, so you did paint this together. Both
Yes,
of you
Your Honor.
contributed
I
to
did most
the
of it.
art. Okay, but she says you did. Okay.
I did the colors behind it.
Okay, so because you purchased this.
Yeah, it was around $400 for that frame.
I believe that. This is not a $20 situation. This is a beautiful. This is really like a piece of fine jewelry.
Absolutely.
One could argue.
Judge Ebony's verdict when equal justice returns. This is Equal Justice.
So you are suing me for $448. That is the cost of the frame.
The frame and also the painting itself.
So you want the whole thing?
Oh, I want the whole
You don't
thing.
want this separated.
No, I want the painting and the frame.
What do you say about that, sir?
I disagree.
And tell me why.
I believe since I paid for the paint and sip,
What did you pay, sir? What was the ticket amount?
30 person, $60 total.
Okay. Miss Davidson, do you have a receipt to show the court what you paid for this very nice frame?
Yes, I do actually.
Okay. Please offer everything up to my bailiff.
thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Wait till you see that invoice.
Okay, right. Okay, let's see. I do see Frame Me is your invoice, ma'am, for $418.70. You have a receipt to prove your purchase of this beautiful, expensive frame. You have convinced the court that you contributed to the work of art. I do not believe you presented to the court sufficient evidence of this man's infidelity in a 2-month-long relationship. I believe you both equally contributed to the art piece, so I'm actually going to give you the piece of art with the frame, but I'm gonna minus $30, okay? Because I'm not convinced that the man cheated, and so therefore I'm not going to fully reimburse you for what he poured into a date night with you. So I am gonna rule in favor of the plaintiff, but minus $30. I just think y'all were not a fit. That is my ruling.
Judge Ebony has ruled in favor of the plaintiff. The defendant is ordered to return the framed painting.
The scales of justice. The courtroom was filled with an air of anticipation as the participants took their places. A woman looked at the bench, her eyes searching for a sign of what was to come. She asked if someone could read to her the nameplate. It read Judge Eboni K. Williams. In this particular courtroom, the only thing that mattered was how the judge saw the situation. She was a woman of substance, originating from North Carolina by way of Louisiana, carrying with her some West Coast cool and a New York edge. She looked at the individuals before her and asked if they had a problem. The woman replied that she did not. Equal justice was about the most important values of the country, such as freedom and integrity. These were the things the judge was striving for. She reminded the woman that while she ran her own household, this man got to run his. The judge had decided to become an attorney and pursue the law because she wanted to be a voice for the voiceless. This court could not hold the woman accountable without reason. People from all sectors of life, including black, white, purple, gay, straight, and queer, were represented there, and that was exactly what Equal Justice with Judge Eboni K. Williams was all about. The first case involved Cassidy Roth, who claimed that a novice eyelash technician had damaged her eye. She was seeking a refund for her eyelash extensions. On the other side was Ava Stevens, who stated she was a licensed professional who provided exceptional service to the plaintiff. The judge greeted the ladies, noting that Cassidy Roth was the plaintiff and Ava Stevens was the defendant. Miss Roth was suing Miss Stevens for $450. The judge asked why they were in court that day. Miss Roth explained that she had gone to her coworker, who told her about a lash special. She reached out to the technician, and they established their availability. However, during the appointment, the technician revealed that she was new and only had 5 customers in total. Miss Roth realized she was lucky number 5 in the technician's entire career. This fact made the plaintiff a little nervous. The judge noted that Miss Roth had seen the price rather than the work itself. Miss Roth continued, explaining that during the appointment, she felt like the technician was jabbing and stabbing her eye. They were talking about lash extensions where individual lashes are put on each individual natural lash. Miss Roth looked up and realized it was not what she wanted. She had asked for a natural lash, but she received a large dramatic lash instead. When she brought it up, the technician was dismissal and had a bad attitude. Miss Roth paid $250 and left. The next day, she woke up with her eye burning and red. She went to urgent care, where the doctor explained it could be a chemical burn from the fumes of the eyelash glue. She reached out via text to ask for a refund, but the technician refused. The judge examined the evidence, including text messages and a photograph of the irritated eye. It looked very painful, and Miss Roth described it as a burning and stabbing sensation that lasted for about 2 to 3 days. Ba defied Dong Thwa Kingsen. The judge looked at the receipts from Eyelash Queens. Miss Stevens confirmed she owned the business. She had charged the card for $200. There was an intake form where the client acknowledged the potential risk of allergic reactions and irritation. Miss Roth wanted reimbursement for her medical bills and the money paid for the extensions. Miss Stevens defended herself, stating that although she was new, she was a licensed lash artist. She claimed the client had specifically asked for a hybrid look in the consultation form. The judge read the form, which showed a preference for a natural look appropriate for work, but also for a night out. The length preference was marked as short to medium. However, when the judge looked at the finished product on the screen, the lashes did not look short or medium. The judge, a lash enthusiast herself, described them as heavyweight lashes, not meant for an amateur. The case continued with a discussion about the application. Miss Stevens argued that a hybrid look required a mix of long and short lashes. She claimed none of her previous 4 clients had such a reaction and that her reviews were all positive. The judge decided to verify this claim. She found a review titled "Disappointing Experience." It stated that the application was sloppy, excessive glue was used, the lashes did not look natural, and there was irritation afterward. Miss Stevens tried to deflect, but the judge pointed out that someone was not being entirely truthful. There were also positive reviews mentioning fast, flawless, and affordable service. The judge reflected on the situation. She believed Miss Stevens had tried to interpret the desired look, but there was clear damage to the eye. The text messages showed that Miss Roth had complained about the burn the next day. Miss Stevens had offered to discuss a resolution, which she later explained would have been an additional service. After hearing both sides, the judge prepared to rule. She felt that both parties were misconstruing the events and that someone was lying. Because she could not make sense of the conflicting tales, she decided to rule in favor of the plaintiff for $200, reimbursing the cost of the services since the defendant had already expressed a willingness to offer more service anyway. The second case featured Clover Davidson and her ex-boyfriend, Mateen Hampton. Miss Davidson was suing for $448.70 over a frame and a painting. She explained that they had created the painting together during a date night surprise. It was a paint and sip set where he purchased the cloths and she purchased the frame. They had been dating for a couple of months. The relationship ended when her friend, Alexa, called to say she saw him at a bar with another woman. Miss Davidson confronted him, found his response defensive, and decided to end the relationship and demand the painting and frame back. Mr. Hampton, the defendant, explained that he had possession of the painting because they had decided to hang it in his apartment, which needed more decoration. It had been hanging above his bed. The judge asked to see the painting. Both had contributed to the art, though Miss Davidson claimed she did most of it while he focused on the background colors. The frame was quite expensive, costing around $400. The judge reviewed the invoice for the frame, which totaled $418.70. Miss Davidson wanted the entire piece, both the painting and the frame. Mr. Hampton disagreed, noting he had paid $60 for the class. The judge concluded that while Miss Davidson had proven the purchase of the frame and her contribution to the art, there was insufficient evidence of infidelity in such a short relationship. Therefore, the judge ruled in favor of the plaintiff but deducted $30, representing half of the cost of the date night class. The defendant was ordered to return the framed painting. As they left, Mr. Hampton told her she could have it back and hoped she would find the right person. The judge concluded the session, and the parties went their separate ways. Equal justice with Judge Eboni K. Williams. The courtroom was silent as Judge Eboni K. Williams took her seat behind the elevated bench. She looked down at the nameplate that clearly stated her name and title. To her, that nameplate was a symbol of authority and a reminder that in this particular courtroom, the only thing that mattered was how she saw the facts. She often shared a bit of her journey with those who stood before her, explaining that she was from North Carolina by way of Louisiana, carrying with her some West Coast cool and a New York edge. She looked at the woman standing in front of her and asked if they had a problem, to which the woman respectfully replied that she did not. For Judge Eboni, equal justice was about the most important values of the country, such as freedom and integrity. Those were the things she strove for every single day. She reminded the woman that while she might run her own household, the man involved in the case had the right to run his. The judge had decided to become an attorney and pursue the law because she wanted to be a voice for the voiceless. She understood that this court could not hold someone accountable without clear evidence. Her courtroom was open to people from all sectors of life, whether they were black, white, purple, gay, straight, or queer, and that was the true essence of what her show was all about. The first case involved Cassidy Roth and Ava Stevens. Cassidy claimed that a novice eyelash technician had damaged her eye and was seeking a refund for her eyelash extensions. On the other side, Ava Stevens maintained that she was a licensed professional who had provided exceptional service. The judge greeted the ladies and noted that Cassidy was suing Ava for the amount of $450. She asked Cassidy why they were in court that day. Cassidy explained that she had gone to a coworker who told her about a special lash promotion. Cassidy reached out to Ava, and they established their availability. However, during the appointment, Ava revealed that she was a new technician and that Cassidy was only her 5th customer in her entire career. Judge Eboni joked that Cassidy was lucky number 5. Cassidy admitted that the news made her nervous, but she had been drawn in by the price rather than the work experience. As the appointment progressed, Cassidy noticed that Ava seemed to be jabbing or stabbing her eye. The judge clarified that they were talking about individual lash extensions being applied to each lash. Cassidy agreed and said she eventually looked up and realized the result was not what she wanted. She had asked for a natural look, but Ava had given her large, dramatic lashes. When Cassidy brought this up, she felt Ava was dismissive and had a bad attitude. Despite her dissatisfaction, Cassidy paid the amount of $250 and left. The next morning, Cassidy woke up with a burning, red eye and went to urgent care. The doctor explained it could be a chemical burn from the fumes of the glue. When Cassidy reached out via text to ask for a refund, Ava refused. Cassidy handed over her evidence, including text messages and a photograph of her irritated eye. Judge Eboni observed the photo and noted that the eye looked very painful and red. Cassidy confirmed it was a burning, stabbing sensation that lasted for about 2 to 3 days and required antibiotics. When shown the lashes in the photo, Cassidy reiterated they were too dramatic and not what she asked for. Ava interrupted, claiming that was exactly what the plaintiff had requested. The judge then looked at the receipts and the intake form. Ava owned a business called Eyelash Queens. The intake form showed that Cassidy had acknowledged the risks of allergic reactions, irritation, and discomfort. Cassidy explained she wanted to be reimbursed for both the service and the medical bills. Ava Stevens defended herself, stating she was a licensed artist and that the client had signed a consultation form. Ava argued that Cassidy had asked for a hybrid look, which in the industry meant a mix of styles. However, the judge read the form aloud, noting that Cassidy had specified a preference for a natural look appropriate for work, with a short to medium length. When the judge looked at the finished product on the screen, she remarked that the lashes did not look short or medium at all. They looked quite lengthy. The judge, calling herself a lash aficionado, described them as heavyweight lashes not meant for an amateur. The court took a brief moment to consider the situation. Judge Eboni asked her bailiff, Elijah, for his opinion on the length of the lashes. Elijah agreed they looked very long. Ava tried to explain that to achieve a hybrid look, one must mix long and short lashes. The judge admitted she was distracted by the irritation in the photo, making it hard to judge the aesthetic. She asked Ava if any of her previous 4 clients had experienced a similar reaction. Ava claimed they had not and insisted all her reviews were positive. However, when the judge examined the reviews for eyelash queens, the very first one was titled Disappointing Experience. It mentioned sloppy application, excessive glue, and irritation. Ava claimed that specific review was written by Cassidy herself. There were other positive reviews, but the judge focused on the conflict at hand. She addressed the idea of a look that transitions from day to night, questioning if anyone truly wore the same aesthetic for work and for going out. Cassidy maintained that Ava simply did not follow instructions. The judge reviewed the text messages sent after the appointment. Cassidy had complained about the burn and demanded a refund, while Ava had expressed regret but pointed out that Cassidy had left the salon with the lashes and had already been charged. Ava told the court she would have offered a fix-up service once the lashes started to fall out, but Cassidy never called to resolve it. Judge Eboni asked Cassidy if she had ever received extensions before. Cassidy said she had done it once or twice without any issues. She then asked Ava if any other clients had complained. Ava admitted some wanted more curl or different lengths, but never reported irritation because she used proper intake forms. Finally, the judge was ready to rule. She felt that both parties were misconstruing the events and that someone might not be telling the whole truth. Because Ava had already expressed a willingness to offer additional services, the judge decided to rule in favor of the plaintiff in the amount of $200 to reimburse the cost of the service. She told them both to get their lives straight. After the ruling, Cassidy remarked that Ava got what she deserved, calling her broken and sorry. The next case involved Clover Davidson and her ex-boyfriend, Mateen Hampton. Clover was suing Mateen for the amount of $448.70 over a framed painting. Clover explained that she and Mateen had gone on a date night to a paint and sip class. It was a surprise date early in their relationship. Things were going great until about a week later when Clover found out Mateen had been cheating. Her best friend, Alexa, had seen him at a bar with another woman. Clover confronted him, and when he became defensive, she ended the relationship and demanded the painting and the expensive frame she had bought for it. Mateen explained that after the date, they had gone back to his apartment. Since Clover spent several nights a week there and his place needed decoration, they had agreed to hang the painting above his bed. It had remained in his possession since then. The bailiff, Elijah, brought the painting forward. It was a collaborative effort, though Clover claimed she did most of the work. The frame was the real point of contention. Clover had paid over $400 for it, describing it as a piece of fine jewelry. Mateen argued that since he had paid for the class itself, which cost $60 for both of them, he should keep the art. Clover provided a receipt from a shop called Frame Me for the amount of $418.70. Judge Eboni considered the facts. She noted that Clover had proven she paid for the expensive frame and contributed to the art. However, the judge felt there wasn't sufficient evidence of infidelity to completely discount Mateen's contribution to the date. The judge decided to rule in favor of the plaintiff, Clover. She ordered the framed painting to be returned to her, but she deducted $30 from the total award, representing Mateen's half of the class cost. She concluded that the two were simply not a good fit for each other. Mateen told Clover she could have the painting back and hoped she found the right person. Clover took her painting and left the courtroom. The scales of perception. The courtroom was still, the air thick with the silent expectations of those seeking resolution. Behind the elevated mahogany bench sat Judge Eboni K. Williams. To those who stood before her, she was the final word, but to herself, she was a product of a journey that spanned from North Carolina by way of Louisiana, tempered with the cool of the West Coast and sharpened by a New York edge. She looked down at the nameplate on her desk, then back at the gallery. The only thing that mattered in this particular courtroom was how she saw the truth. Equal justice, she believed, was rooted in the most important values of the country: freedom and integrity. These were the pillars she strove for every time she donned her robes. She had decided to become an attorney to pursue the law because she wanted to be a voice for the voiceless. This court served people from all sectors of life, whether they were black, white, purple, gay, straight, or queer. That was the essence of equal justice with Judge Eboni K. Williams. The bailiff announced the first case. Cassidy Roth, the plaintiff, was suing Ava Stevens for $450. The dispute centered on a beauty treatment gone wrong. "Good day, ladies," the judge began, her voice steady and commanding. "I see I have Cassidy Roth as my plaintiff and Ava Stevens as my defendant. Ms. Roth, you are suing Ms. Stevens for $450. Why are we in court today, ma'am?" Cassidy Roth stepped forward. She explained that she had gone to a coworker who told her about a Lash special. After reaching out and establishing availability, Cassidy learned that Ava was a new Lash technician. In fact, during the appointment, Ava revealed that she had only had 5 customers in her entire career. "You mean in life?" Judge Williams asked, leaning forward. "Like her whole career?" "Yes," Cassidy replied. The judge nodded slowly. "Okay, you are lucky number 5. I just want to make sure we are clear on the facts.